All right, good morning and welcome back to Saturday Somm-Things with Sian. It's another beautiful day in Denver. It's going to be 70 degrees later, so what better way to start the weekend by drinking wine? So we are joined today by Jeff, who's joining us from the Èlevage Collection. So he specializes in a number of import wines, featuring Argiano as one of the brands that you carry. I was at a blind tasting dinner party a couple of weeks ago, and the 2016 Argiano was gifted to us. It was a secret wine, nobody knew what it was, but it was absolutely the star of the show. And Brunello de Montocino is just so fun to say. It's another one of those Italian regions and words and wines that, just, I don't know, that just literally rolls off your tongue. And I'm just in love with the Italian language. I've been fortunate enough to actually visit Italy like 4 times now. And I remember my first one, I was in Piedmont, and I was a Tuscany hater. I thought Piedmont was small, it's all about the farmers and more intimate experiences and wines, and that Tuscany was all flashy and commercial.
Yeah.
And then when I actually did get to visit Tuscany, I just fell in love. There was fields of sunflowers, and we made everybody stop the bus so we could all run out and go take pictures of ourselves. Like, yeah, we're in Tuscany. And all the cypress trees and things too.
Cypress trees are fantastic, and the olive trees.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful country, beautiful people, and of course, fantastic wines. So I'll let you perhaps introduce yourself and the brand as well, and tell us a little bit about the history of Argiano and how it came to be.
Very good. My name is Jeff Tufford. I'm a certified sommelier. I've been in the wine business for 29 years now, representing multiple portfolios. I'm currently with the Èlevage Collection, as Sian mentioned, and I'm very proud to represent this Italian family. When I think of Argiano, think of beauty, think of elegance, and you think of tradition. Really, the beauty of Tuscany that you just described, the elegance of the grapes and the wine from this estate, and tradition. Argiano was built in 1580. So, it's hard for us to keep a bridge going on a highway longer than 30 years, and this estate has endured at a high level for the last 400 plus years. So that's amazing. The name of the estate is called Villa Bellaria. This is the crest of Argiano, the original crest of the winery. So Villa Bellaria literally means villa, good air villa. It was built in Montocino area at 1,000 feet above sea level. So literally you're up high, and you get this cooling winds off the Tyrrhenian Sea, which define this estate if you're fortunate enough to visit. So where are we? We are in Italy. Everybody knows what the shape of Italy is, right? The boot. Let's go north, let's go west, let's go on the coast. That's where Tuscany is. So Italy, Tuscany. 2 probably the most famous towns is Florence and Siena. Montocino and Argiano are located southwest of Siena. That's the physical location. It can be quite hot here. We're in the southwest zone of Montocino, but because we're at altitude, you get the cooling winds, which counteracts that. So, in order to be relevant and successful for 400 plus years, you have to have leadership and you have to have continual improvement. If you're not improving and you're not growing, you're not surviving. So those are the 2 things that really are associated with Argiano as well. For example, bringing it to the modern era, in 1967, they were one of 2 estates that first established a consortium of Brunello producers. So what that is a free association of Brunello producers to keep the quality and the integrity of the region intact for generations to come. So Argiano was the leader in doing that. So let's talk about the vineyards. You can't make great wines without phenomenal vineyards. Here's a beautiful picture of the Villa Bellaria vineyard. Southwest Montocino can be quite hot, as I mentioned, so you get the concentration of the fruit that you're looking for. You get plenty of heat down here. It's hot in the summertime. But because we're at elevation, 1,000 feet, it cools down. You get those cooling breezes. It cools down those grapes, so you get concentration with elegance and intensity. And that right there is the defining term for the Argiano wines, concentration with elegance and intensity. So then you have to have an artist, a winemaker, to transform these beautiful grapes into phenomenal wine. So Bernardino Sani is the leader and the winemaker here. Bernardino's been in the wine business for a long time, and the 3 key things that Bernardino really brought to the table right away is he transitioned the vineyards to be organic. So these are 100% certified, estate certified organic vineyards in the EU. He also went plastic free. I mean, how many wineries can say that? He's totally plastic free. and he is complete carbon neutral on this property as well. So his respect for Mother Nature and the land will carry Argiano for the next 400 years.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really special. It's the intersection of all of those things that makes Argiano so special.
I think too, like certainly a lot of the Somm community will be, I don't know, like haters, but kind of assume that because it's a bigger brand and it's really well represented, that it's not as artisanal or as family focused as some of the smaller estates. And it's not fair to say. And I think that I like being reminded that, you know, things I may have tasted in the past, I've changed my perception on. I think the first time I ever had Sangiovese was Chianti. And it was literally from a little the little fiasco bottle in a little old Italian restaurant in London. Suspect date, the older gentleman, like nothing happened, but it was a little bit strange. But the wine itself was like, nah, I don't like this, because I think at that point I was so young in my tasting experience that those earthy aromas were a turn-off for me. But going back and then tasting these again now from a trusted producer with a lot of forward-thinking and vision and thinking of the future, I think is huge, and you can taste it in the wines too.
Thank you.
So a lot of these, like speaking to people that don't necessarily go to Italy for their first choice in wines, how would you maybe set up a tasting for, say, California Pinot and Cabernet and Merlot fans? How would we bring them over to try these wines? Like, where would you start? I
think exactly how we have it set up here. Beginning with the Rosso De Montocino, which we'll go through the wines here in a second and what that means, Rosso De Montocino. First of all, Sangiovese is the grape of Tuscany. It's the grape of Montocino. The locals call it Brunello. So when you hear Brunello, that means Sangiovese. There are multiple different clones in this area. Clones is a different variation of that grape. And there are some very significant clones. One that's actually proprietary to this property in the process of getting approved on the Vineyard de Suolo block. So that's important to know. So when you're talking about Sangiovese, you're not talking about something that's going to be opaque. It's not going to be dark and black. It's going to be elegant. So when you're talking Pinot Noir, to your point, your transition, you've got a medium-bodied, dry red wine with acid, some tannins here, and some phenomenal cherry fruit. A little bit of strawberry. So Rosso De Montocino and Brunello De Montocino, by wine law, have to be 100% Sangiovese. When you harvest for a Rosso De Montocino, you cannot release that wine until the next September, at least. It has to. Most people wait longer, but you have to have at least 9 months, roughly, before you release it. What that means is you're not going to get a heavily oaked wine. You will get some oak in these wines, but this is a vineyard-driven wine. This is about that special property, that we talked about. So this is easy to drink, elegant, great with pizza. It's the perfect pizza wine. You talked about Pinot Noir against salmon. Something maybe with the salmon with a little bit of a tomato puree or something on the side.
Even like with the skin on the salmon, and it's been like grilled or like roasted, like that kind of crunchy texture to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, great call.
I love it. I get so much cherry on this, and I hate the taste of cherries, real cherries, but I like drinking cherries.
Kind of dusty cherries, right? Yeah, a little bit of herbal note on that as well.
It's delicious.
Thank you. This is the 2018 vintage, which is the current vintage.
It has a little kind of farminess to it as well, which isn't, for me, like a turnoff anymore. It literally speaks to where the grapes are coming from, the farmland, and it just makes me think of things that I want to eat.
Well, when you're getting multiple levels of flavor in your wine, too, that's what makes a great food pairing as well. Because if you go to these great restaurants, as you know from your background, you want detail in the food. You want to pair the intensity of the wine with the intensity of the food and have levels of flavor. And that's really where Italian wines shine.
Excellent. I love it. So between the Rosso and then onto the Brunello.
Yes. So this is the 2016, just released, Argiano, Brunello de Montocino. So the difference between the two is if you're a Brunello de Montocino, you are not allowed to release the wine until the 5th January following the harvest. So you got to wait 5 years, and it has to have a minimum of 2 years in wood. So some people go longer, of course. This is 30 months in larger French barrique barrels. It gives that a little bit more depth to it. But because of the age and the structure of this wine, you pair this with a little bit more serious food now. Now you get some really serious Italian dishes, of course, or even American cuisine that would go well with this.
This is like dramatically different in terms of intensity and texture on this wine too. The acidity is still there. It's still very crisp and refreshing in its own way, but it's just more powerful.
You get a real floral note out of this as well. It's got some really good floral notes on this. It's a beautiful nose. I love aromatics on wine first and foremost, and then it just sets up the taste of the wine.
Taste.
So yeah.
You say another thing that I always love, like the Italian labels and French labels and German labels can be really confusing to the masses. One thing I love about Italian wines is like they kind of give you a hint. So it'll be Brunello di Montocino, Sagrantino di Montefalco. So it helps you. It tells you the grape from the region. So that's always like just a little cheat to help.
True.
So going on to the next, so I almost messed up, non-confunditor.
Very, very close. Very good. We just call it NC.
Right.
What it means is unique. The name non-confundidor, I said it incorrectly as well. That's why we put NC on the label. It means unique, one of a kind. So Argiano was the first Montocino producer to release Super Tuscan wines. So Super Tuscan wines are wines made with international varietals in Italy. They cannot be called Chianti, they cannot be called Montocino, things like that. So that word literally translates into French wines into local soils. It means, like I said, one of a kind, unique. Okay. So the makeup here is 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Merlot. So it's really a Bordeaux-based varietals, and then the balance is Sangiovese.
See, this is just like so interesting in the nose. It's almost like a little gravelly too, like something that I get with Cabernet Sauvignon, but with just something different. It's not as gravelly as Bordeaux Cabernet, but it definitely has that Cabernet personality with the blackcurrant and mint to it, but it's just a little more unusual. It's like, go figure, that's why it's called that.
This estate we talked about, this is all owned by the Argiano folks, all the vineyards that we're talking about here. It's primarily made up of limestone and chalky soils, which is important for the hillside fruit for the Sangiovese. When you get a little bit lower, still above altitude, still altitude, now you get a little bit more clay and marl. So this is where international varietals like Cabernet and Merlot will shine. And again, when we come to the Salingo, this literally was the first Super Tuscan released from the Montocino area, and Argiano was the leader again, once again.
So this is the only, or the first wine that is considered a Super Tuscan, but instead of it coming from Bulgaria or Maremma, or any of these regions that are well known for the other Super Tuscans.
Correct.
This is 100% Brunello de Montocino from the village.
From the estate.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
Love it. So let's get into this one. And we kind of like,
okay.
I'm excited. I don't want to rush it.
So
but
the
I kind of
transition
want to...
between the NC and the Salingo is, this again is about highlighting the vineyard. There is 3 to 4 months in oak and larger French barrels, so there's not a lot of wood here. This is about highlighting the vineyard. When you get into Salingo, now we flip it. We're still 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, but now we're 30% Petit Verdot, which is a very big...
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's an intense... gives the wine a little bit of a purple edge. I love Petit Verdot because it looks like they plugged it into an outlet. It's got like a purple rim to it. But those two grapes are very powerful. Then you add Merlot, and then you add Sangiovese. This one is aged 16 months in French barriques, 60% new. So now we're talking about an international wine. You talked about folks from California that like Cabernet or bigger style wines. This is where you want to go. If that's your wheelhouse, you want to try the Salingo. This is the 2017.
It's a nice beast. Like you feel the tannins on that right away. It's so juicy and so big. I wasn't expecting to like that as much as I do.
Mouth is still watering.
Right?
It's a very juicy wine.
Oh, good luck.
And Salingo literally means lone wild boar. So it's funny you said beast. That's what it translates into. So.
Wow.
But here we go.
I might not go back to work right away. I might have to sit and savor that one for a second. So the Reserva Brunello de Montocino we need to wait another year for.
Correct.
So longer time. And then you had mentioned the single vineyard wine, and we have 6 bottles of that?
6 bottles of the 2015 Argiano Vigna del Suolo, which is the top of the hillside vineyard there. It is 55 to 60-year-old vines. It is only made in special years.
Okay.
In the 2015, you're one of the few places that has it in Colorado. There was only 906 packs roughly made worldwide, total production. So it's a very special wine if you're a collector or you want something at a different level.
That's something that you would buy and you would kind of stash in the cellar for a couple of years.
You could.
Yeah.
I've decanted it and it's beautiful now, but you certainly could lay it down for 20 years.
I don't have patience to lay anything down
either.
for 20 years. But well, thank you, Jeff, so much. A wonderful way to start out the day, kind of refocusing on Sangiovese and Italy, Tuscany, beautiful region. Hopefully we can do some more seeing all these types of wines from the same region. Because I think sometimes as a consumer, you're in that region in the aisle and you're like, I don't know where to start.
Right.
So sticking with a producer that you trust the quality of is a good way to go, and you can kind of bounce around between the occasion. Maybe it's pizza, maybe it's steak, maybe it's barbecue, and maybe it's candlelight and fireplace. I don't know.
There you go.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us again. Thank you, Jeff.
You. It's been a pleasure.
A pleasure and honor to have you with us. If you liked the video, if you liked the content, then by all means, do sign up and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and you'll get all these updates. We'll have these wines on special pricing. Sheila will do her magic, and they'll be available a little bit more cost-friendly for everybody. But yeah, there's something for everyone with these. And
I think so.
I look forward to you coming in to check them out. We'll have a little display over by Register 10, so you can swoop in, grab what you want, get out, and get on with the rest of your life. But thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.